Every empire claims it was chosen. Every dynasty says it was destined. But the House of Windsor was not born from fate. It was manufactured, a new name, crafted to replace an old one, so the monarchy can survive a world that no longer needed kings. And when a name becomes more important than the people who carry it, something begins to happen behind the palace walls. Lives become symbols, voices become silence, and the crown, the object meant to protect them, becomes the very thing that consumes them. This is not a story about royalty. It's a story about what happens when a family is forced to live as a myth. But before we dive into this story, a disclaimer. This is not an accusation and not a defense. It is neither endorsement nor condemnation. Everything you're about to hear is drawn from publicly available sources, official biographies, archival records, reputable journalism, and documented historical events. We are not declaring truth. We are analyzing interpretations as they appear in the public record. No conclusions are imposed. You are encouraged to verify everything independently, and verify it twice. History is not a fixed script. It's a mirror. Interpretation remains yours. The world believes the British monarchy is ancient, a continuous bloodline stretching back through centuries of destiny and divine right. But the truth is quieter and far more strategic. The family we know as the Windsors did not inherit the crown through timeless legacy. They renamed themselves to survive. In 1917, during a time of global conflict, the royal family held a German surname, Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Newspapers noticed. Public sentiment shifted. Loyalty began to fracture. So the solution was simple. Change the name. Change the story. Change history, just enough to be believed. Overnight, the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha became the House of Windsor, a dynasty not preserved by destiny, but by rebranding. A new name, a new symbol, a new myth crafted to hide the old one. And from that moment on, the monarchy wasn't just a family. It was a managed image, one that had to be protected at any cost. The crown does not rule the nation. Not anymore. Its power is not legislative, military, or economic. Its power is symbolic. A symbol can outlast governments. A symbol can survive crisis. A symbol can influence belief without ever speaking a command. The British monarchy understood this earlier than most institutions. They realized that survival did not depend on authority. It depended on perception. And so the crown became a brand. The ceremonies, the balcony appearances, the interviews, the weddings, they are not traditions. They are broadcasts. Every gesture is curated. Every silence is strategic. Every smile is part of the narrative. The crown must look timeless. The family must look unified. The institution must look sacred. Because the moment the image cracks, the crown becomes just metal. And the family behind it becomes just people. And people, unlike symbols, can break. The world sees a family, but inside the palace, there is something else. The institution, a structure of handlers, advisors, press secretaries, archivists, image coordinators, a network designed to preserve the myth of the crown. They call it the firm. And in the firm, no one is simply a child, a parent, a spouse. Everyone is a role. Personal identity becomes secondary. Emotional life becomes background noise. What matters is the narrative. Who stands where? Who speaks when? Who is seen? Who is not? The fern controls the frame. If someone disrupts the frame does not bend. The person does. The crown does not adapt to the individual. The individual adapts to the crown. And if they cannot, they are removed from the story. Not loudly, not violently, just silently, as if they were never meant to be there at all. Because the first rule of the fern is simple. The myth must survive, even if the people inside it do not. Every system has a fault line. For the Windsors, her name was Diana. She entered the monarchy like a spark enters a dark room, not with power, but with presence. She didn't perform warmth, she was warmth. And warmth is dangerous in an institution built on distance. The world saw her. Not the title, not the protocol, not the curated symbol. Her. And for a moment, the myth cracked. The public didn't want the crown. They wanted the human being wearing it. But the firm does not bend for individuals. So the machine did what machines do. It adjusted, it contained, it silenced. And the spotlight that once felt like devotion became a floodlight, sharp, relentless, consuming. A life meant to inspire became a life observed, measured, dissected. Until the story ended in a way the world still refuses to fully understand. Some call it tragedy, some call it inevitability. But whatever the truth is, Diana did not leave the myth. The myth absorbed her, and the echo of her presence has never fully faded. Perhaps one day we'll open a full case file on her story. But not today. Today we continue with the dynasty the crown demanded to survive. When Diana's story ended, something unprecedented happened. The world did not mourn quietly. The world erupted. Crowds gathered in silence that sounded louder than any chant. Flowers covered the streets like snowfall. Television screens flickered with faces that didn't have words, just disbelief. But what the world was grieving was not only the woman. They were grieving the idea that had been lost. The belief that someone inside the crown could remain human. For decades, the monarchy presented itself as calm, controlled, unshaken. But during the days of mourning, the image cracked in public view. People didn't want the ceremony. They didn't want the procession. They didn't want the palace language of tradition and dignity. They wanted acknowledgement. They wanted feeling. And when it did not come, the silence became a statement, a symbol of how deeply separated the institution had become from the people who were meant to believe in it. The public didn't lose faith in monarchy. They lost faith in the myth that the monarchy could protect the ones inside it. The crown stayed untouched, but everything around it shifted. Time changed, media changed, the world changed, but the mechanism did not. When Meghan entered the monarchy, the story appeared familiar. A woman with her own identity, her own voice, her own life before the crown. At first, she was welcomed as renewal, a modern symbol for a modern monarchy. But symbols are not meant to speak. They are meant to be displayed. And when a symbol speaks, the institution listens for only one thing. Does this serve the myth? When the answer became complicated, the narrative began to shift. Headlines multiplied, cameras intensified, opinions flooded in from every corner of the world. And once again, the spotlight did not illuminate, it consumed. The same pressure, the same isolation, the same expectation to become an image instead of a person. The family did not fracture, the story did. And so the institution responded in the only way it knows: distance. Not confrontation, not reconciliation, just silence. The same silence that once echoed around Diana. History did not repeat because the people were the same. It repeated because the system was the same. From the outside, the monarchy looks crowded. Palaces, staff, cameras, audiences. But inside the crown, there is almost no one. Relationships are formal. Conversations are measured. Affection is controlled by schedule, protocol, optics. Children are raised not to express, but to present. They learn how to stand, how to wave, how to speak without saying anything. They learn that privacy is not a right, and trust is not guaranteed. The world believes these lives are privileged, but privilege is not the opposite of pain. The crown teaches distance. It teaches silence. It teaches that vulnerability is a threat, not to the person, but to the image. And so the members of the royal family grow up surrounded by people, yet untouched by closeness. A lineage built on lineage, a home built on ceremony, a life lived behind glass, not isolated by walls, but by expectation. A family trained to be alone. A crown is not just gold and jewels. It is a story, a myth carried across generations, repeated until it feels eternal. But myths do not survive on admiration. They survive on belief, and belief must be protected. This is why the crown demands distance, why the family must appear composed, controlled, unbreakable. If the world sees them as human, the myth loses its power. If the world sees fear, doubt, grief, vulnerability, the symbol dissolves. So the institution teaches its heirs a simple truth. You do not belong to yourself. Your image belongs to history. Your silence belongs to tradition. Your life belongs to the myth. And the myth is not gentle. It does not bend. It does not comfort. It does not forgive. It only endures. And endurance inside the palace is paid for in private. The world often asks how a family can endure so much public scrutiny, pressure, silence, and loss. But that is the wrong question. The question is, why was it necessary? Because the crown is not a family tradition. It is a machine for continuity. And machines do not feel. They function. If someone threatens the myth, even by simply being human, the machine does not break. The person does. Diana, Meghan, others before them, others after, not because of who they were, but because of what the myth demands. A crown has no power if it can be touched, questioned, doubted. So the distance must remain, and the cost must be paid by the ones born inside it. The Windsors are not villains, and they are not heroes. They are the sacrifice required to keep the symbol alive, a dynasty built to endure, even if the people inside it cannot. If you want satire, go to my other channel, Punchline Protocol. The link is waiting in the description. If you want truth in the dark, stay here. Symbols survive. People don't.